In the ancient land of Aram, a powerful man named Naaman stood at the pinnacle of success. He was a commander of armies, a warrior of renown, respected by his king and feared by his enemies. Yet beneath his armor and accolades, Naaman carried a silent burden, a disease that gnawed at his body and spirit. Leprosy, a condition that marked him as untouchable in the eyes of many, cast a shadow over his triumphs. For all his strength, Naaman was powerless against this creeping affliction. But hope often arrives in unexpected forms. In Naaman's household was a young Israelite girl, a captive taken in a raid, who served his wife. This girl, though small and seemingly insignificant, carried a spark of faith that would change everything. "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria," she said with quiet conviction. "He would cure him of his leprosy." Her words, spoken from a heart unshaken by her own hardship, planted a seed of possibility in Naaman's desperate soul. With the king's blessing and a letter of introduction, Naaman set out for Israel, his entourage laden with silver, gold, and fine garments. Riches meant to buy a miracle. He arrived expecting a grand display, a spectacle befitting a man of his stature. Instead, he met Elisha, the prophet of God, who didn't even step outside to greet him. Through a messenger, Elisha delivered a simple command: "Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed." Naaman was furious. The Jordan? That muddy, unremarkable river? He had imagined a dramatic ritual, perhaps the prophet waving his hands over him, invoking divine power with thunderous authority. "Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel?" he raged. Pride swelled within him, and he turned to leave, his hope curdling into bitterness. Yet in that moment of defiance, grace intervened. Naaman's servants, loyal and wise, approached him gently. "My father," they said, "if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he tells you, 'Wash and be cleansed'?" Their words pierced through his anger, coaxing him toward humility. Reluctantly, Naaman relented. He descended to the Jordan's banks, dipped himself once, twice, 7 times, and emerged a new man. His skin, once ravaged by disease, was restored like that of a young child. But more than his body, his heart had been healed. Naaman returned to Elisha, declaring, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel." Naaman's story is more than a tale of physical healing. It's a journey of the soul. He began as a man defined by his achievements, his status, his expectations. Leprosy stripped away his illusions of control, but pride nearly kept him from the cure. It was the faith of a servant girl, the persistence of his companions, and his own willingness to surrender that opened the door to restoration. The muddy waters of the Jordan became a symbol of God's power, not in grandeur, but in simplicity, not in human effort, but in divine grace. For us today, Naaman's story echoes with timeless truth. How often do we carry our own burdens, whether visible like leprosy or hidden within, believing we must solve them through strength, wealth, or cleverness? How often do we resist the still, small voice that calls us to trust, to step into the unknown, to let go of our carefully constructed plans? Naaman reminds us that healing often begins when we stop striving and start listening, when we trade pride for humility and self-reliance for faith. His transformation invites us to reflect. What Jordan might we need to step into? It could be forgiveness, vulnerability, or simply trusting that there's a purpose beyond what we can see. Like Naaman, we may not understand the path at first, but the promise remains. There is a God who heals, not because we deserve it, but because he delights in mercy. Naaman's leprosy led him to a deeper truth. Our struggles, too, can lead us to a greater encounter with the one who makes all things new. As Naaman stood by the Jordan, cleansed and whole, he didn't just receive a miracle. He found a deeper connection with the living God. His heart now overflowing with gratitude and worship. His story whispers to us that even in our brokenness, hope can dawn, and from the ashes of pride, beauty can rise. If you've enjoyed this reflection, feel free to subscribe for more stories like Naaman's, or share it with someone who might need a little encouragement today.